If you want to be a civil engineer in land development, these are 5 programs you will probably come across. I have used all 5 throughout my career, but some are way more important and way harder to learn than others. I'm going to explain what each program does, how often I actually use it, and how difficult it is to learn, and whether I think you should learn it. Civil engineering has a lot of different fields, so this is not every program used by every civil engineer. This is a list based specifically on my experience working in land development. Let's start with the program I use every single day, Civil 3D. AutoCAD Civil 3D is the main program civil engineers use to create construction plans. And by the way, Civil 3D is simply just the more premium AutoCAD. It has everything normal AutoCAD has, plus tools for 3D objects. At its simplest level, it helps place lines, shapes, and labels on drawings to show a contractor what needs to be built. For example, I can draw a proposed water main, a sanitary sewer line, a storm pipe, a drainage structure, a sidewalk, or the outline of a new parking lot. But Civil 3D goes beyond just drawing lines. It can use survey points to create a 3-dimensional model of an existing ground. Then I can design the proposed grades for a site and compare the two surfaces. That helps us answer basic questions. Where does the water flow? How high should the building be? How much dirt needs to be added or removed? Is there enough cover over a pipe? Once the design is complete, Civil 3D helps us turn that information into the construction plans that goes to the contractor. I use AutoCAD Civil 3D pretty much every single day. It is easily the most important program on the list for the work that I do. For difficulty, I would give it a 7 out of 10. The basic drawing tools are not extremely difficult, but there are a lot of nuanced things within the program that you can only learn through experience, like how to get hatches to actually work, or text not showing up because it's annotative, or things just not showing up because layers are frozen. Layers, surfaces, labels, profiles, pipe networks, references, and sheet setup can make it feel overwhelming when you first open it. Do I recommend learning it? Absolutely. If you want to work in land development, you should learn at least the basics of AutoCAD. And to level yourself up even more, learn Civil 3D. You do not need to be an expert before your first job, but knowing how to draw, move, offset, trim, work with layers, and extra drawing files will give you a major head start. The second program is Bluebeam. The easiest way I can explain Bluebeam is that it is basically a super PDF reader built for the AEC industry, which stands for Architecture, Engineering, and Construction. You can open a normal PDF, but instead of only reading it, you can measure it, draw on it, add comments, compare different versions, and create exhibits. As an engineer, I use Bluebeam to review plans and reports. I can also use it for measurements and takeoffs. So if the drawing has the correct scale, I can measure the length of a pipe, the area of pavement, or even count how many drainage structures are on a plan. Sometimes I use Bluebeam to create a quick exhibit instead of opening up AutoCAD. Bluebeam also has Bluebeam Studio, which is like a shared Google Doc. Your whole team can review and redline a set of plans. I use it every single day and every hour. I would give Bluebeam a difficulty rating of 4 out of 10. Bluebeam is also beginning to connect with AI tools, so I think we are about to see another wave of what engineers can do with plan reviews and PDF documents. Do I recommend learning it? Absolutely. If you're a civil engineer who uses Adobe, I just can't take you serious. The third program is HydroCAD. HydroCAD helps engineers design stormwater systems. When rain falls on a property, some water soaks into the ground and some water runs across the surface. HydroCAD helps us estimate how much water runs off of the site, how quickly it reaches the pond, how high the pond fills, and how fast the water leaves. I normally use HydroCAD for simpler stormwater designs. For example, I may have one drainage area that flows into one pond, and that pond releases water through a control structure. I can also model underground storage, channels, pipes, and multiple drainage areas. I do not use HydroCAD every day. On average, I probably use it at least once a month, depending on the projects that I'm working on. For the program itself, I would give a difficulty rating of 5 out of 10. It is very easy to operate compared with most engineering softwares. However, that does not mean stormwater design itself is easy. The program will perform the calculations, but you will still need to understand the information that you are putting into it. If you enter the wrong drainage area, the soil type, rainfall, or outlet information, the program will still give you an answer. It just may not be the correct answer. I recommend learning the basic foundation of hydrology and hydraulics before relying on HydroCAD. Would I prioritize it over Civil 3D or Bluebeam? No. But if you want to design stormwater systems, it's still a very valuable program to learn. In fact, the more you learn hydrology, the more of an asset you will be in land development. The fourth program is StormWise, which was previously known as ICPR. StormWise is also used for stormwater design, but I use it for larger and more complicated systems. Some people might argue with me that HydroCAD can do the same thing as StormWise, but to each their own. HydroCAD may be enough when I have a simple site with a pond and an outfall, but StormWise becomes more useful when I have several ponds, channels, wetlands, floodplains, pipes, and drainage areas that just are all affecting each other. I consider it more of a flood analysis tool. My usage is project dependent, but I probably work on it at least once a month. For difficulty, I would give StormWise a 9 out of 10. It has a lot of small settings and details that can completely change the results. You also need a strong understanding of hydrology to know whether the model is actually working correctly. It was especially difficult for me because I originally learned ICPR version 3 and then had to transition to version 4, which worked very differently. It's also a completely different user interface. Do I recommend learning it? That actually depends on where you work. If you are doing land development or stormwater design in Florida, you will definitely need to learn it. It is also used in other parts of the Southeast, like Georgia and South Carolina, but in some regions, engineers may use completely different stormwater software and might have never even heard of StormWise or ICPR. Some use HECRAS, SWIM, and AutoCAD's built-in hydrology software. This is not the first program I would tell a student to learn at all. Learn the fundamentals of hydrology first, then learn the specific modeling program that is commonly used in your region. The final program is WaterCAD. WaterCAD helps engineers design and analyze pressure pipe networks. A pressure pipe carries fluid that is being pushed through the system. The most common example is a public water main. We can also use it for sewer force mains where pumps push wastewater through a pipe. WaterCAD helps answer questions such as, is there enough pressure at this location? Is the water velocity too high? Is the pipe large enough? What happens when several buildings use water at the same time? And can the system provide enough water during a fire? I do not use WaterCAD as often in my current work. However, when I was working on more residential projects and master plan communities, I use it almost every week. A large neighborhood may have miles of connected water mains, several connection points, fire hydrants, and hundreds of homes using water. I may also use it for a complicated force main or lift station design, especially when several pipes and pumps interact with each other. For difficulty, I would give WaterCAD a 7 out of 10. The program has a learning curve, but a major part of the difficulty is understanding how pipe systems work. You need to understand flow, pressure, pipe size, elevations, pumps, and where the water is entering or leaving the system. Do I recommend learning it? It depends on the direction of your career. If you want to work on residential developments, master plan communities, public utilities, or municipal infrastructure, WaterCAD can be very valuable. But if you're designing small commercial sites, you may rarely need it. Out of these 5 programs, this would probably be the lowest priority for someone who is just starting in land development. In conclusion, if I had to rank these programs for someone beginning a career in land development, I would start with AutoCAD Civil 3D and Bluebeam. Those are the 2 programs I use every single day, and they will immediately make you more useful on a design team. After that, the order actually depends on what type of projects you work on. Learn HydroCAD or another stormwater program if you are designing smaller drainage systems. Learn StormWise if you are working on complex stormwater systems, especially in Florida. And learn WaterCAD if your work involves residential communities or public utilities. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Whichever idea gets the most likes, I'll be more than happy to take a stab at it. And if you're looking for more engineering resources, I have free engineering mechanics problems, FE practice problems, student guides, and more on my website. Everything is linked in the description. Hope everyone has a good day. Peace out.